Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And I think today's the start of Season 3, Jeff. The official start, the long road to the season, but here we go. We're 1 month, not quite a month we're in the same month as the draft now. We got 4 full weeks until the draft, but we're going to get our season previews going right now. Going to go division by division here. 2 divisions a week until we get to the draft and kind of go through what the depth charts are now currently after all the free agency moves and maybe give some ideas on what we think they should do in the draft offensively. We're going to talk about what we think every team should get for their offense, when in reality we know most of them probably just need defense or offensive line. I don't care about that, Jeff. I don't know about you. I'm not worried about it. Defense, offensive line, that kind of stuff. I'm just cared about position players. So
yeah, I mean, it helps out a quarterback here and there, but
that's all we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter. We're the FF Prophet. On Instagram, Fantasy Football Prophet. And thanks everyone for following us on there. We just hit 10,000 followers now the other day. So it's nice to see that. Go to YouTube/Fantasy Football Prophet and check us out there as well. Make sure you subscribe there because we're going to have different content going on YouTube than we do on than just the regular podcast. So check us out there. You'll get a lot of new, different information. And then, all right, well, it's time. I think we should get right into it. So right before we're getting going with this big trade going on in the NFL, and it fits in perfectly because we're doing AFC East first. So this will be all about AFC East. The Patriots have traded Brandin Cooks over to the Rams for a first-round pick and a sixth-round pick. They also threw in a fourth-round pick with Cooks. Just thoughts on that, Jeff? What do you mean? First up, it's interesting. I don't know what Patriots are doing exactly, but it's an interesting move.
Yeah, I like Brandin Cooks. He did well with them. I mean, he was a fantasy producer. He was a top 10 guy if he weren't in a PPR league. He was a little bit up and down. He wasn't out there winning games for you, but he was solid. I'm not sure. Obviously, the Patriots have very specific guidelines they live by, and he must have not fit into their plans, so they parted ways and got, pretty good value for him. I never doubt what the Patriots do. They always seem to absolutely know where they want to spend their money and where they don't. And I think it's a good get for the Rams. I honestly think this is probably a win-win. And to be quite honest, I'm not sure if it really is going to change Brandin Cooks' production in my eyes. And, the Rams as well. I don't know if it really affects anyone because he's going to slide into the Sammy Watkins spot. I think they were going to get someone else anyway. I mean, they had to, unless Cooper Kupp was going to come to the number 2. So maybe someone down the line is going to miss out. But I don't know. I don't think this is actually as big in my mind as people are making it out. What about you?
I agree. I don't think Brandin Cooks' numbers are going to be that terribly different. I don't think they're really going to go up. I don't necessarily think they're going to go down. The Rams have a great offense. They're doing everything they can right now to be a Super Bowl winner. They don't care. They're just going to trade all the picks to get all the players they can. It's a good move for the Rams, I think. But yeah, I think he's going to slot into where Sammy Watkins was. And is he going to be more, not a decoy, but, they didn't throw Sammy Watkins' way when he was doubled. They just ignored it. They just give the ball to Todd Gurley, throw it to him, throw it to Robert Woods, throw it to Cooper Kupp. They did that kind of thing. I don't think there's going to be any forcing the ball to Brandin Cooks. He's going to stretch the field, though, for him. They needed that guy without Sammy Watkins there. I don't even think it hurts Robert Woods, honestly. People are that's like the first thing I've seen is, oh, this kills Robert Woods' value. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I mean,
I was never terribly, extremely high on Robert Woods anyway. I think he's a good option. I wasn't going to be crazy about him.
Yeah,
he's going to be a good option. I think he's still going to be a good option. So in reality, this might actually help where I think, Robert Woods in terms of value and where you get him, and he's going to lower. He's going to go lower because of this, just because of the perceived.
Right.
He's not the number 1 anymore.
Well, I do think that Brandin Cooks is kind of a more well-rounded wide receiver than Sammy Watkins is. I think Watkins is more of a, he can be more of a boom or bust kind of guy. And I like Brandin Cooks' all-around game. It's not quite as big as some people like in a home run threat. Watkins is a little more of that guy, but You know what? I don't see this affecting either team too greatly. I think the Patriots, as we all know, I mean, plug and play. With this, who do you think is going to soak up the extra, receptions? Because he was their number one.
Well, this is okay. So now we'll get into the Patriots here, and you got the depth chart basically of Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman are the main receivers. So I don't think it's going to affect much because Julian Edelman wasn't there last year with Brandin Cooks. They didn't play together. Edelman's just going to step right back in, take the Brandin Cooks targets, and we're the same team.
Right.
Essentially. Edelman's going to probably do well. Chris Hogan will be fine. He's going to have good weeks, going to catch touchdowns.
As long as he stays healthy, I love his production.
He's going to be a good value later in drafts. Malcolm Mitchell could be the interesting one. He was off. He was hurt all year too, and there was potential before that. So maybe Malcolm Mitchell. This could be a case where they know what they have in Malcolm Mitchell, and they think he could step in as the number 3 receiver and be a solid option for him. Fantasy-wise, don't really know if that matters for him. In reality, I think all this means is for sure Rob Gronkowski is coming back. I mean, we kind of believe that anyway, but it's kind of, you'll have Gronk, you have Hogan, you have Edelman. I think you're fine. And you're going to be able to throw the ball over to James White and Burkhead. It's going to be the same Patriots team, and we're not going to know what to think week to week. Tom Brady's the only sure thing option, top 5 quarterback he'll be again. But you're going to get good value out of Hogan, and I think Edelman could be slightly overvalued. I like Edelman, but he gets that way sometimes. He's the interesting one. You don't know.
I feel like Edelman is exactly what Edelman is every single year, and people always want to rise and lower him as people come and go from the Patriots, but his production really doesn't change a whole lot.
But he's always the interesting one in drafts where he just changes value draft to draft, I think, more than any player, because there's some people that fall in love with Edelman and draft him early, and there's other leagues, other teams have been in that no one just cares. Like everyone just doesn't want him for some reason.
Do you think that this offense is going to be run any differently? I do say this only because last year I feel like they did run a little bit more than we've seen before. And I don't know if that's because, Brady gets a little bit older. They had a lot of wide receiver injuries, as we talked about. I mean, do you think that they're going to lean on the run game more and more as Brady gets older?
I think it's just going to maybe throw to the backs more. I mean, I don't know what to think. Let's say, okay, they lost Deion Lewis now. So it's going to be a mixture of Burkhead and James White, and they signed Jeremy Hill, and they're keeping Mike Gillislee. So,
I mean, it's the same problem with the wide receivers they have with the running backs.
I like Burkhead probably most of all of these.
He's definitely head and shoulders above, only because he hasn't screwed up yet.
Well, I just think they're going to be, they're just going to use Hogan, Edelman, probably Malcolm Mitchell. Who knows? They're Cordero Patterson they're going to use in some kind of fashion.
And I wondered about that too. And first of all, I'm not, in no way will I ever draft Cordero Patterson.
And he's not going to be terribly fantasy relevant. They're just going to use him.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, do you see a place where he's going to be, I'm going to go back to fantasy, where he could find a position where he would be relevant at some point, even with an injury, say.
Maybe.
Because Chris Hogan already got injured before. We know Edelman's gotten injured before. Brandin Cooks isn't there at the moment. So really there is a spot to fill, whether or not they draft or with Malcolm Mitchell or, more than likely it won't be Cordero Patterson.
They have Kenny Britt, right?
And Kenny Britt too. So, they just have a slew of people that have been useful at some point in their career.
Yeah, and honestly, we don't know. No one knows with the Patriots.
No.
The only sure thing you got is Gronk and Brady.
And actually, do you know what year that number 1 pick or first round pick is in?
It's this year. It's like the 23rd or 20 something.
You wonder if they will use it on if they see a wide receiver they really like. If that's why they're doing it,
I doubt it. I do too.
I
feel like they're gonna. I think they get defense or something or offensive line. I don't see.
I do see this. I don't see them trading unless they have someone they think is going to be there.
Yeah. There's
because it's the Patriots.
They need. I don't see them getting any kind of position players, but
and whoever they're getting, I just assume he's going to be a superstar, like flying under the radar.
Yeah,
because the Patriots they will trade back as many times as they possibly can and still get the guy they want. So it'll be very interesting. So with this, who are the guys that you personally at this moment would be interested in drafting?
I mean, I'm not interested in drafting Brady, but that's just my
because of where he's going to go.
Yeah, that's just my philosophy with drafting and how I build my teams. And the same thing with Gronk, actually, because I don't go for that number 1 tight end. And he's still probably going to be the number 1 tight end. I mean, at worst, number 2 behind Kelsey.
I would think that because we're not quite sure what Mahomes is, I would say that Gronk is the number 1 still.
Because of that, I actually am going to avoid both of them, but it's not because of the player. It's because of the position and how I value the position. That's the only difference.
What do you think percentage-wise? How many games will go? How many games do you think Gronk will miss because of injury?
At least 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't see myself targeting a Patriots player. Maybe Chris Hogan deep in a draft if he lasts that long. As like my 5th receiver.
I think Chris Hogan might go a little
4th receiver.
Rich for my blood now, even though I was a huge fan of him last year and he won me a lot of points before he got hurt. But I really like Burkhead. I think he is going to be kind of under the radar a bit still. And believe me, I'm the guy that says never get Patriot running backs if you can avoid it, because you never know from game to game. But I'm looking at this, and unless I hear differently, I just see Burkhead having the first crack. He's reliable. They really like his skill set. I just like what he can do here, and he was very, very nice to have down the stretch when they started using him a lot.
Yep.
And now that Deion Lewis isn't there, I feel like that really opens it up for him.
I would really like Burkhead if it wasn't for the Patriots running back thing. But yeah, he was used well there at the end of the season when he was actually healthy. So, but can he stay healthy? I don't know. And is Jeremy Hill going to just vulture all the touchdowns? So
he very well might. I was wondering why Jeremy Hill's an interesting one. I'm not going to draft him.
He's still young enough.
Yeah.
He showed signs with the Bengals. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's going to be a wait and see how they even use. He could be a cut in the preseason. It's one of those.
Other guy that's but just slightly because of the huge amount of love he got last year. But Gillislee is still there.
Yeah.
He had 2 games where he was just a monster because he just got every goal line carry. I'm assuming
he could be the guy who would
exactly.
surprise me.
I'm assuming he will not get out of the doghouse. But if he did for some reason, who knows? I'm just saying there's a lot of running backs there that really makes it very, very difficult to read. But I still really do like Burkhead, and I think that he might be a good value pick.
All right. How about we move over in the division of the Buffalo Bills? And kind of a team that I'm not excited about.
I was going to say, woof.
So, as of today, their quarterback will be A.J. McCarron. And I think that will be their quarterback this season no matter what they do. But I believe they're going to try to target a quarterback. I mean, everyone kind of believes they're going to target a quarterback, obviously. McCarron's only on a 2-year deal. He didn't get much money. The Bills are going to try to get a quarterback in the draft. So, for fantasy purposes, that doesn't really make much of a difference for us this year, no matter who they get. And if McCarron's the guy, we don't honestly know what to expect from McCarron. He could be good. He's obviously teams, did covet him at one point, but then again, he didn't get much interest in this offseason, so I don't know what to think. So, not caring about him. The running back situation, LaShawn McCoy, going to be 30 years old. I don't think we're the only ones, but there's a lot of people starting to back off from McCoy this year. The team's worse. He doesn't have Tyrod there, helped him out. He constantly gets injuries, but he always seems to bounce back after he had for 1 second you think he had a season-ending injury, and then he's back in 3 plays later. I think that happens all the time with LaShawn McCoy. So, LaShawn McCoy, are you kind of avoiding the situation, or what? Okay,
yeah,
not as a running back 1 anymore.
I'm actually, yeah. Unless he dropped drastically, and I could get him, way below where he should go. I'm just avoiding the situation in general. It's too difficult to know. First of all, there's too many things stacked up against him. LaShawn McCoy is a amazing running back. And you can say, however, if you're from Buffalo, you're probably hating me right now. But the truth is, he is getting older. At some point, he will fall off. And now you have a quarterback that, Tyrod, you're going to say he's not an amazing quarterback, but he's good enough. He could get a team. He did get a team to the playoffs. He could throw enough. He could run. He could take the pressure off the offense. He did a lot of little things that let them mix it up and probably let McCoy give him a little breathing room. With A.J. McCarron back there, do you really think that they're going to, they're going to let them, kill you with McCoy? They're more than likely, at least in the beginning of the year, until they know that A.J. McCarron can beat you, they're going to say, AJ, the ball's in your hands. We're going to stack the box. Can you go over the top to Zay Jones, which we don't know what he's made of quite yet, or Kelvin Benjamin, who was hurt and is not exactly a speedster. So, I mean, I really see McCoy just kind of getting really beat up this year.
Yeah, and he's down right now in the current early ranks. He's 10th in rankings today. And that, I believe, let me pull that up, is obviously without like Saquon Barkley ahead of him. So, which I think Barkley will be ahead of him. So that puts McCoy, though, in an interesting spot because that puts him very close to running back 2 category. Then his value changes completely in my mind if he's your number 2 running back.
I think it depends on where you're drafting.
Yep.
Because he would not be the 10th back I would take.
True. I don't know. Okay, this is where he's 10 right now, so you put Barkley ahead of him.
Yeah.
Devontae Freeman's 1 spot below him.
And I would put Devontae Freeman above him.
Mark Ingram.
I would go Ingram.
Jordan Howard.
I see that being similar, but I actually like Howard's position a little better. I would do Howard because he's younger too.
You would at this point almost drop McCoy to 13 to 14.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
But then if you get him at that value, that's it. But
I mean, there's always a place I would take McCoy. It's not like he's undraftable, but someone will like him more than me, and I don't see him dropping in the rankings, in general rankings, much farther than that. I mean, maybe he will. Age has a funny effect on, how people perceive you, but I don't know. Where would you take him? Because I think you're probably a little higher on him than I am.
I mean, I would take him as he has to be my running back 2. That's the only way. That's the problem. So if he's at 10, that's a running back 1. And I don't want him.
Okay, say this, though.
He has to be a 2 for
He has
me.
to be a running back 2, but that's
the only way I get
also
him.
depending on where you draft. Say you were in a 10-team draft. You were drafting 8th, and you draft whoever it is, Kareem Hunt at number 8 or something.
Yep.
It comes back to you right away. Are you drafting him?
I skip him. I draft a wide receiver.
Okay,
probably.
exactly.
That's kind of what I would do right there.
Okay, so that would be a running back 2 situation. Now, if he came back all the way in round 3,
different, but that's never going to happen.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah, he's just not going to be on one of my teams. So he has Chris Ivory backing him up now, which doesn't really matter to me.
No.
At wide receiver, you got Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, and yeah, that's it. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin I'm not excited about him with AJ McCarron. I'm not excited about him really anyway. Obviously, the Panthers gave up on him and traded him. Nothing. The Bills just don't interest me. I don't even think we don't have to get into it much. They don't interest me.
What about Charles Clay?
No, just the same thing. It's just this team I don't expect to be very good.
I mean, he's not going to be like a sexy pick, but if you pick him late, I'm wondering because of AJ McCarron. I'm wondering if he actually might be a nice little valve for him to throw it to, and he was pretty decent with Tyrod. Even he was viable. Know what I mean?
He's going to end up, if anything, he'd end up being a waiver wire pick that we see a couple weeks because I'm going to take more of upside pick down there, like the OJ Howard, the David Njoku, those kind of guys. I'm going to probably take more upside. I would take Jordan Reed over him.
I mean, yeah, I would take Jordan Reed over him too.
So there's like not many situations where I'm going to end up with him.
But Jordan Reed is going to, he's going to be way up there. I don't think Clay will be that high.
Reed's about 11 right now.
But I do have to say, there's not a lot of guaranteed weapons on this.
That's true.
I'm just saying that he might be a value pick as well. But, and even, I was like looking at this, and usually you can pick out, if for some reason they picked a wide receiver in the first round, or, they could really come out of nowhere and be good. I'm looking at this team, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of help for anyone. Like, I don't see anyone, I think McCoy is more because of the team that I don't like him. The wide receivers or whatever, even if they went out and got, a Ridley or something, I'm not sure if I would like them that much.
I don't think so either. I think they're going to get a quarterback, though. That's what they're going to do. And he's going to sit behind McCarron probably for a year and just nothing exciting.
Nathan Peterman really blew it.
God, yeah. It's just nothing about this team I'm excited about. Just fantasy-wise, pretty much staying away. Those receivers, there's no reason for me to draft those receivers in any situation. There's so many others that have potential.
If you were going to pick one, do you see upside for Zay Jones?
It has to be Kelvin Benjamin.
Right, that's what I'm thinking too.
And, wow, maybe he could put it together. It's possible, but I'm not going to draft it.
Exactly. I'm not saying it can't happen because we were kind of high on Zay Jones, like thinking that his skill set catching the ball could be pretty good.
Yeah.
I just wish I knew more about AJ McCarron.
Yeah, and Calvin Benjamin he's 44th right now in early ranks. Just no one's interested.
No, but
so maybe that's a good value.
Yeah, it is actually because he's a giant guy and they're going to score some touchdowns. They have to.
Yep.
So if he does do one thing well, he does, box out and catch in the red zone. So he might be actually a value pick, even though I'm not excited about it.
All right, how about the Miami Dolphins? Another team we're not excited about because let's see. Last year they traded J.J. during the season. They traded Jarvis Landry now. So their team is looking like Ryan Tannehill will probably be the quarterback, backed up by Brock Osweiler. Exciting. At running back, we thought it was going to be Kenyon Drake, and I still think it will be, but now they got Frank Gore backing him up. Should be Frank Gore backing him up. Kenyon Drake, any interest there?
Yeah, I actually really like, Kenyon Drake. I think he's going to be a good pick just because I don't have a whole lot of faith in Tannehill.
Yep.
Their wide receivers are sketchy. At best, I think some of them, like Devontae Parker.
That's the interesting one.
He is, and Kenny Stills will do his thing. Danny Amendola, hopefully he won't die on the field. Like, I have no idea how he went to another team. I feel like with all the injuries and everything he had, I just assumed he would have retired if he left the Patriots. But he'll do his thing too, as long as he's on the field. I think Kenyon Drake is the only one I'm really excited about. I think that he still has the ability to have a pretty big year. I really don't know how this offense is going to go. So, as you know, anytime the run game or an offense struggles, the run game struggles along with it. You don't have quite as many big plays. But he did better than Ajayi did last year with the same offensive line.
He did.
So, I think there is some talent there, and I still want to see how he does. I would draft him in the right spot, definitely.
I think I would. He's going as a running back 2 right now in that 15 to 20 range, which back-end running back 2. With today's, landscape of running backs, I think that probably makes sense. Frank Gore's not going to take too much away.
No.
Frank Gore's just going back to Miami where he went to college, and that's just his final year probably. That's all he's doing. He's going to play a little bit, but they're not going to sacrifice their future and seeing what they have in Kenyon Drake for Frank Gore. So there's just it's not much to worry about there. So Kenyon Drake still, I like him. If I can get him for the right price, obviously, like everything, I'm going to take him. And then he's going to be a fine value, I think. I don't think there's ever going to be too much of a Kenyon Drake hype train going on. He's just going to stay decently valued. And so I kind of like that. Wide receiver wise, yeah, we said it's Kenny Stills, it's Devontae Parker, it's Danny Amendola. Parker has the most upside. Is he ever going to do it?
I mean, at some point, I feel like this is the year. If he's going to do it, this will be the year. So I think people will spend. But they got burnt last year, and people
that's
really
the problem
do
with
go
Parker.
back.
You're going to get him at a better value this year than last year, obviously. But even now, he's the 35th ranked wide receiver, which puts him as a wide receiver 3, which is how he's performed. It's still not where he should be. That's not, you're taking a chance, and I don't want to take that chance. Right around him, okay, this is the same thing as taking a chance. Like, you got Corey Davis 2 spots ahead of him. I'm going to take Corey Davis in the same situation just because he's had only 1 year of not doing much. Devontae Parker's had a few.
And he's a rookie. He was a rookie.
Yeah. Julian Edelman 1 spot ahead of Devontae Parker. I think Edelman's a safer wide receiver 3.
Oh, yeah, he'd be very safe to have on your team.
Then below Parker, let's see if any of these guys, but this could be right because it gets kind of ugly sometimes. After Parker, currently Sterling Shepard.
Well, you never know with what's going to happen with OBJ and
Jamison Crowder. Who knows with that team.
I don't like that team either.
This is like the Parker spot. Emmanuel Sanders, he could be a decent value with the new quarterback. But again, he's 30 some years old too.
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson, he just had all felony charges dropped. Still a moron, but
trending up moron.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp, who's probably going to drop now.
Yeah, but he's a darling. I think, not saying I would draft him over, but I think he will go higher than than these rankings say.
And then you got like Will Fuller, which is going to be a boomer bust play.
Yeah, but he is a good value down there.
And then 42, Marquise Goodwin. I like Marquise Goodwin.
So. Okay, but I do actually have to say,
makes sense.
It does make sense,
right?
Yeah,
he does make sense.
So talent trumps what you have, your performance, because
then
when you're down there, you're guessing anyway.
Chris Hogan 45. Chris Hogan 10 spots behind Devontae Parker. Yeah.
How is
he'll
that
probably
possible?
go up after this trade. You know, the Cooks trade. I'm sure he'll trend up.
Even if it wasn't this trade, how is he not above him? I think people forget about him because he got injured, but
yeah. And then all right. And Miami, draft wise, there's a lot of rumors that they could be looking at a quarterback too, which would make sense to me. Tannehill hasn't quite, I feel like, panned out, and there's a lot of quarterbacks this year, so this might be the year to take one. Yeah, he really hasn't. He really hasn't panned out. So,
no, I mean, he has. It's unfortunate, but he could come around this year. I mean, all these quarterbacks, they're still pretty young. A lot of them, I shouldn't say all of these guys, but young quarterbacks are, they will struggle, and he's still relatively a young quarterback.
I mean, there's absolutely no guarantee they'll draft a quarterback. There's just some people thinking they might. They very well might just skip over it and just go for Tannehill and just not. Because if they draft a quarterback, Tannehill knows he's on his last legs there. It just could make an awkward situation. They might not want that if there's still belief Tannehill can do it. Tight end wise, they have nothing pretty much at all yet. So I could see them drafting something, second, third round, getting a tight end on that team if they don't sign somebody here. But that's kind of an ugly situation at tight end. This is a team that I don't expect a lot from this year. Devontae Parker, maybe he could do something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy it. I don't know. But then wide receiver wise, also Jakeem Grant and Leonte Carew, just interesting names who showed some signs, and we keep hearing about them like dynasty wise. Maybe they step up there. I don't know, because I don't expect much from Danny Amendola. Oh, and they also signed Albert Wilson. Can't forget about that too. They actually signed him to a decent contract.
Yeah, they did.
So he's there too, which is, I don't know. That's a weird thing. So Devontae Parker, though, is the only guy I'd even want. I don't care about the others. I've never been a big Kenny Stills guy. Except maybe his first year with the Saints.
Yeah, and he's fine. He'll do his thing, but nothing exciting as far as fantasy.
All right, one final team for the AFC East. Wrap us up, and it's another team that is kind of not very good, but there could be some interesting guys here. New York Jets.
I'm starting to see why New England just blows their division away every year.
It's pretty ugly. So the Jets, right now at quarterback, we have Josh McCown, Teddy Bridgewater, and they still might draft a guy. So, for fantasy purposes, I still feel like Josh McCown would be better next year, but it almost makes more sense for them to try out Teddy Bridgewater. Right? I mean, like to see what they have in him.
I don't know if it's going to be right away.
And I don't know at all what it's going to be.
I don't think anyone, I think it's still, his injury is still burned in everyone's minds. It's like, can you get over that? Will he be able to play long enough to, be beneficial? But yeah, Bridgewater is by far, it could be the future. He was a talented guy. I liked a lot of the stuff he did in Minnesota.
He might have something yet. No one knows for him. So we'll see what he could do. Running backs, they signed Isaiah Crowell, who should be their lead back now. I mean, Crowell looked good 2 years ago. Didn't look good last year, but he played for the Browns. So what do you really know? I don't think he's a special talent. I think he's just he's above. I think he's above average, but that's about it. There's a lot of above average guys, and not even borderlining more on average than above. But you know what I mean. So Crowell, any interest in Isaiah Crowell, or is Powell? There's still Powell there, Elijah McGuire, and that shouldn't matter.
They have Thomas Rawls now.
They just signed Thomas Rawls as well. Yeah, that's right.
Didn't even realize that. I mean, tell you the truth, I still like the idea of Isaiah Crowell. I liked what he did 2 years ago, and once again, I'm taking the fact that the Browns were so bad to why Crowell didn't perform last year. I think he could do well. I really worry about the quarterback situation and kind of the same thing McCoy's going to go through, where even if Crowell does get off to a start, they'll just load the box because, who knows? I mean, if they do try out Bridgewater or even Bryce Petty or whoever they might be trying to find the next quarterback, it could get ugly quick. And, I'm still not there, and we'll get to the wide receivers, but they're not overly impressive either. It's kind of a mixed bag. I'm not sure who's going to come out, who's going to be well. So I like it, but I could see how it could go very, very poorly. But I think that's kind of what brings me back to, he won't get overhyped. I think I can get him where he should go. More than like last year where people were hyping him up in the top 10 almost.
Yep.
So that's where I think Isaiah Crowell will be where he should be, and I think he's definitely draftable. And unless he gets on the hype train again, and then obviously you just bail completely because he's on the Jets.
Yeah, and right now he's not hyped at all. He's 38th ranked currently.
Oh, I love that.
So that's perfectly fine. Where you could get him at that level. You're not out anything if he's terrible at all. So, shoot, take a chance. And looking at this, they also have Jeremy Langford there, deep on the running back depth chart. Remember his one shining moment with the Bears, which he was a keeper for a lot of people that year.
Yeah, he was going to be a starter.
Crazy. So they have a lot of running backs, really. Wide receivers, they have a lot of wide receivers on this team.
Yeah, talk about grab bag of guys.
Oh my God. So they just signed Terrell Pryor. I don't know what to expect after last year. I don't know what he is or who he is anymore. Robbie Anderson, obviously, who knows if he's probably going to be suspended. I wouldn't be surprised, even though the charges it looks like were dropped against him. It wouldn't shock me if he's suspended for a couple games. Quincy Enunwa coming back from injury. Jermaine Kearse is still there. They have last year's rookie Darius Stewart still around. Devin Smith, who they thought had potential a couple years ago. I mean, they have a million guys. I don't know at all what to expect. Oh, man, I don't know what to expect. Robbie Anderson, if Josh McCown's a quarterback and Robbie Anderson's playing, I like Robbie Anderson the way they looked last year. But Quincy Enunwa was great 2 years ago. I don't know, Jeff. What do you think?
No, I don't know either. This is the problem with it. And assuming that Robbie Anderson has dug himself out of trouble, he would still be a viable option to draft because of all the issues. I think that people cooled off on him a little bit because everyone got so high on him so quickly. Quincy Enunwa, until I see the guy actually run and how he's actually playing, I'm not going to hype him up too much. But I liked him. But once again, this is all assuming that McCown is going to start. And at what point do you try out Bridgewater? Do you try out someone else?
They're going to. They have to.
Yeah. And so, do you know? So that's where I'm at. I don't think that I think at times these guys are going to look like a steal, and then you're not going to be able to start them. So I think they're too dangerous to really own and really draft unless you're getting one of these guys near the very end of your draft.
Yeah, and it's too risky, all this. And they traded up to number 3 in the draft to presumably get a quarterback. That's kind of what everyone's expecting. Who could end up playing too.
Oh my God. Look at all the quarterbacks. It's crazy. McCown, Bridgewater, Petty, Hackenberg, and I don't even know who Joel Stave is, but he's on there too. But, really they're just loading up and saying, let's figure out who can play, and then we're probably going to ditch 2 of you.
Yeah, and they have no tight ends. They just signed Clive Wolford, the old Oakland tight end who had slight fantasy relevance a few years ago. Very slight. He didn't even really have relevance. He was just a name that we thought might have relevance, and it didn't really. That's about it.
That's a stamp of approval.
He's a name we know. We have heard of his name. That's pretty much what you can say. And they have what's his name? Jordan. What the heck is that guy's name? Jordan Leggett, who's a rookie, I think, last year or so. He maybe has potential. You never know with tight ends when they're going to break out.
Is there at any point would you draft Terrell Pryor?
I might. But it's a back end of a draft type thing. But I might take a chance. He's out of all these guys. I might definitely take a chance on a Pryor. That kind of guy.
Because I think Robbie Anderson will go higher than I'll ever be willing to.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Enunwa falls. But Terrell Pryor is kind of the one guy I'm looking at. You know what? If I'm going to drop a guy anyway, maybe I'll try this guy and see if lightning hits again.
That's kind of the thing. The Jets shouldn't be good, though. There's too many players. We don't know. They'll draft a quarterback. Which one? I don't know which one is good. Who is it? Sam Darnold? Josh Allen? Josh Rosen? Baker Mayfield? Lamar Jackson?
I could do a whole podcast just on the quarterbacks.
I don't know. Who knows which one?
I don't know.
I have no clue. No one really has a clue. No one's going to know until it happens. So I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap up AFC East. Probably one of my least favorite divisions in the entire NFL. Get that done out right away.
And that's how we like to kick off season 3 with our least favorite.
All right, we'll be back for our next episode later this week. Yeah, we'll have one more. We're going to do NFC East, preview the NFC East, which is a little more maybe interesting. Maybe. There's some better players. We'll do that, see what we think about that. We'll talk to you guys later.